Hello, Tech Pros, episode 135.
Just start where you can, do a little bit. I know social can be so overwhelming.
Welcome to the podcast where I chat with professionals who are getting the job done using technology 7 days a week. Each week, we start with Motivation Monday. Tuesday is about productivity, Wednesday, leadership, Thursday, technology, Friday, people and communication, Saturday, entrepreneurship, and Sunday, being unplugged. All right, let's get started. Hello, Tech Pros. This is Chad Bostic, and I'm excited to introduce our featured guest today, Laura Roeder. Happy Tuesday, Laura.
Hey, Chad. Happy Tuesday. Happy to be here.
Great. It's awesome to have you. Are you prepared to be productive?
I hope so. I'm sort of asking myself, how productive is it to do this interview? But, it's going to help promote my company, so I think it's pretty productive.
Awesome. Very good. Laura Roeder began her entrepreneurial journey at the age of 22 when she quit a design job and decided to launch her first business. MeetEdgar.com was created out of a need Laura had in her own business to more effectively manage social media. And so in 2014, Laura pivoted her business to dive into the SaaS world. Since Edgar's launch in June 2014, the remote team has grown to 18 people. They've hit more than $240,000 in monthly recurring revenue, and they've bootstrapped the entire way. Edgar is now happily providing social solutions to more than 5,000 customers. Laura, that's an amazing story. And you know what? We're going to have you back on an entrepreneurship Saturday, some Saturday in the future, to talk about that story of, that's an amazing process to go from nothing and bootstrap it and go to 5,000 customers and 240,000 monthly recurring revenue. That's a great story.
Yeah, it's been pretty fast. It's been a fun ride.
Awesome. Well, today is Productivity Tuesday on Hello Tech Pros, and it's all about, being the pace setter and getting things done and making the most effective use of our time. But before we get started in that, I just want to be completely transparent to the audience and to you, Laura, because I don't know if you know or not, but I'm actually one of your 5,000 customers.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of Pat Flynn, and I heard your episode with him a while back. And so Edgar was always in the back of my mind of, okay, when I'm going to start my podcast, when I start my blog, when I do my thing on my own, I'm going to need a social media tool. And so maybe throughout the interview, we can get into, what I love about it. But let's hear this story. So Laura, we always start with a personal story on Productivity Tuesday, which is a time in your life when you were really struggling with productivity. We want to get so much done, but sometimes, dude, just life gets in the way. Things happen. We're just not at that sweet spot. So can you share us that story of a time when you were struggling with productivity?
Yeah, what definitely comes to mind is any time where I feel like I don't have clarity on my direction. So when I think of times in my life and times in my business when I've been the least productive, it's always those times where I feel kind of lost. I feel like I don't know what's coming next. In particular, I'm thinking of in my last business, which was a social media marketing training business, I decided I needed to make some big changes in how my business was structured. I had created a really complicated business because I built an information product and then I would build another one and I would build another one. So, get 3 or 4 years down the road and I had this, it was a very complicated business because I had this big suite of a lot of different products. They all had their own marketing systems. They were all independent. And I realized what I had built was too complex and I was trying to figure out how to simplify. Did I want to maybe just have one flagship product and get rid of the rest? Or maybe I wanted to grow my business to be able to support updating all these products, because that was really the problem in social media. They would become outdated really quickly, and it felt like this hamster wheel keeping them all up to date. Mm-hmm. And during that time of trying to decide which direction I was going to go, it was really hard to get anything done because I had that feeling of like, what does it matter? Or I'm going to do some work and then I'm going to end up scrapping the whole thing, I decide not to do that. So I ended up combining all the products into one monthly membership, which, that became the journey that ended up with MeetEdgar. So it all worked out. But that's definitely a time where I know that I'm not going to get a lot done. And, looking back on it, I feel kind of two minds. In one way, I think it's so important as an entrepreneur to just pick a direction and go with it. I think that's a huge part of success, is just being decisive and trying something out. But at the same time, I do think there's a natural ebb and flow to everyone's journey. And sometimes you're getting everything done and everything's moving well and everything's moving fast. And sometimes it's the dip, right? It's the times when things don't feel like they're going so great, where maybe we need to take a step back and do some thinking and be more reflective.
Man, I love that story, Laura, because I feel that pain. I feel like I'm in that process right now. And to be quite honest with you, the reason that I started this 7-day-a-week podcast with 7 different topics is because I had all these ideas of all the things I wanted to talk about and all the things that have helped me in my career. As a shy kid working with technology and then learning things about motivation and productivity and leadership and on and on and on. And that's really been inspirational to me, but I didn't know which one to focus on. Like you said, like multiple products in your portfolio. I have this daily show, but it's almost like I have 7 separate weekly podcast shows, right? And each one of them has their own production schedule. It has its own backlog of guests and so forth. And so it can get overwhelming at times when you're thinking about, gosh, do I focus on one of these and like try to make it break out? Or do I like take the sum of the parts and put it all together and make something awesome out of it? So at what point did you decide, you know what, I have enough here that I want to like maybe change direction or focus or double down on what I'm doing and package this all up together into a single tool?
As in decide to launch Edgar, is that what you mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Edgar was the direct result of training that I was offering in my previous business. I had developed a system that I was using that I was teaching others to use, where you think of all of your social content in categories. So a lot of people, when they do social media, they kind of do it one-off. They sign on for 5 minutes, write something, send it out. They do it on the fly, but social media is a media channel, just like your blog or like your podcast. It's going to work much better if you really think about what is the message I want to communicate, what are the different types of messages, and how frequent should they be, and when should they go out. So I developed a system of just creating a spreadsheet with all your different categories of updates. And then the other really crucial part was cycling through those categories and repeating the updates, because as a social media marketing professional, I quickly realized that creating multiple pieces of new content every day for the rest of time, which is how a lot of people do social media, is not exactly sustainable for a small business owner. And everyone has experienced this, right? You get really motivated and you do all your social, and then you're like, I'm overwhelmed, I can't handle it, and you don't post anything for 2 months. I mean, it's a very common cycle. And you don't want your social media to be dependent on your time or your mood that day. And such a small percentage of your audience sees anything you post. Less than 5% of your audience, the people that actually choose to follow you, see anything you post on social, because it's such a crowded, noisy space. So all these things came together to create the system where you put your content in a spreadsheet, you cycle through it. But there was still a ton of grunt work and manual labor that needed to be done to move these updates from the spreadsheet, to get out into a tool or out onto social media. So Edgar was really created as software that does all that grunt work, so that you have one social media tool that you can store a curated library of categorized content in, and it sends out that content for you.
Yeah, and I love that. I kind of teased at the very beginning of why I love Edgar and why I use it, and it's exactly that, right? So once I create my podcast episode, it goes into a bank, into a library inside Edgar. Actually, Edgar reads my RSS feed from my podcast, and every couple of days I check on it, and it says, hey, it looks like you've got a couple more episodes ready do you want to add them to your library? And I say, yeah, sure, let's do it. And I might tweak a little text, right? Maybe tag some people for Twitter or add a couple of things for Facebook or something like that. And then it's there available in my library of all the posts. But then you have the schedule, right? And schedule out which posts you want to post at what times a day. And like you said, through this categorization of all of the, in my case, all the podcast posts and some of the other social media channels, it's other types of posts. But it just made so much sense when I was looking at my structure of my podcast: Monday motivation, Tuesday productivity, Wednesday, right? I have these categories for each of my podcast posts, and Edgar has all these categories that you can categorize each of your social media posts and then schedule them out. And then once you get it scheduled, it's like hands off, you walk away from it, you never touch it again, and it's just automation, right? It's just constantly cranking out those posts all day, every day.
Yeah, well, it's kind of fun to talk to you because you're kind of our perfect use case, because I always
Yay!
say,
Go me!
Edgar's really useful if you have a lot of content. And man, 7 days a week podcast, like you have a lot of content. And yeah, it's kind of fun for you how it also corresponds to a day of the week, since obviously our schedule is done by the day of the week. But yeah, anyone who's been podcasting, who's been blogging, it's so common that people spend hours and days crafting a really great podcast, a really great blog post, and they send it out when it's new, maybe just once. A lot of people do, maybe a few times that first week, and then they never send it out again. And that post that you put so much love and so much time into could be sending traffic back to your site on autopilot if you just put that post in Edgar.
So why is it that people are only seeing about 5% of what we post? Why don't they see everything that we post the first time?
So it's just the nature of how the tools work. So if we look at Twitter, the way that Twitter works is you sign on and you see what's been posted in, while you're there live or in the past few minutes. You don't go to Twitter, go to someone's profile and read everything that they've written, right? You go to your home feed. So it's just the nature of it that it's this like very specific dance where the person needs to be posting during that same very short window that you're signed on. Otherwise, you're going to miss each other. And as these tools, as the years go by, people follow more and more people. So on Twitter, if you were only following 5 people, you would see a lot of what they posted because there wouldn't be that much in your timeline, right? So you'd be able to see a lot of it. But most people don't follow 5 people. They follow at least, a few hundred people. So
sure.
People follow thousands of people. So you're just going to get a tiny snippet. And that's Twitter, which is like pretty easy to understand. And then there's Facebook, which is not easy to understand. We write a lot about Facebook's algorithm changes in our blog. Facebook changes its algorithm very, very frequently of what's shown to people on their homepage, in their feed. And it's very shielded to a business owner because Facebook doesn't want people to be able to game it, right? Facebook doesn't want people to know, okay, if you craft a post this length and put this many images, then it'll show, because then everyone would just do that. And then no one would sign on to Facebook anymore because people don't sign on wanting to see a bunch of spam from companies. They want to sign on, really seeing what their friends say and maybe a few updates from companies. So with Facebook, it's even worse. And your reach is usually much lower even than it is on Twitter, because the people that follow you or that like your page on Facebook, a lot of them are never going to see any of your updates.
Yeah, I've noticed that. So Twitter seems to be, for me personally, for the Hello Tech Pros brand, Twitter is my way to meet new people. And it is great because I post content out, or Edgar posts content out on my behalf all day, all night, every day, every night. And there's a few people who don't follow very many brands or don't follow very many people on Twitter. And I've gotten a couple of notes saying, hey, Chad, like you post a lot. Do you realize like you're posting like 3 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock in the afternoon? And I see like 4 or 5 of your posts just right here in my feed. And I always say, oh, wow, that's interesting, because most people like don't see them at all, or, whatever. And then there's Facebook, and Facebook is completely different because it seems like it's only my best friends in real life that are ever liking and commenting or sharing or doing anything with my Facebook Hello Tech Pros posts, right? It seems like those are either very repressed, they're not getting out there, people are not viewing them, or people on Facebook just don't care. Either way.
Yeah, Facebook is like a tough cookie. To get a higher reach on Facebook, one, you need to be engaging there really frequently. You need to be posting a lot of different types of content, and Facebook is always changing what it favors. So right now, Facebook wants you to do live video feeds, and you'll get a lot of reach if you do a live video feed, and it'll help boost the reach across your page. But the problem with that is, so I see a lot of small business owners that are like, okay, live video feeds, like I'm going to do it. But it's sort of like a it's something you can keep chasing, but you're never going to catch up, is the problem with chasing these Facebook trends, because they do change literally sometimes day to day. Facebook, will like live video one day, will like a short text update the next, will like a link the next, no link the next. I mean, it's just constantly changing. So I do warn business owners not to get too caught up in the latest and greatest in Facebook, because if you don't have a social media team behind you that has time to be experimenting with this all day, I've seen so many people be like, okay, it's all about video, and they spend all this time and this money getting a huge video set up. And then Facebook decides it doesn't like video anymore. And now they're like, oh no, I have to hire a professional photographer or whatever they need to do. So I want to caution business owners, like, don't get too crazy at trying to figure out what Facebook wants. It's very elusive.
So, Laura, this is kind of feeding into my perception of what I've seen with my Facebook feed, right? Which is, it's really, really tough to break into. It's really hard. And to be honest with you, I have absolutely deprioritized my Facebook feed. Like, for some people, I know it's amazing, and they have Facebook groups and they have Facebook pages, and they're all putting all kinds of time and effort into it. But for me, it's like not paying off. It's not working. And it seems like an exponential amount of work to get any kind of payoff on Facebook. So I actually, Edgar allows me to post to multiple channels, right? I could post to Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and all these things, but I personally only use it for Twitter, because that's the place where like my potential audience is being engaged with me, right? They're liking, they're retweeting, they're asking me questions, they're, hey, how do I get on the show? All this kind of stuff. So are there any platforms that are better or worse for different types of businesses? Some businesses that want to be productive, like overall in general, but is there like guidelines on which channel that they should pick for their business?
Well, I think you actually just gave a great productivity tip, which is, if a channel is not working for you, you don't need to worry about it. You don't need to be in all places. And as far as, which channels are right for which business, I think it's a combination of your type of business and your personal preference. So if you are e-commerce, especially if you're e-commerce and you're selling something that looks pretty, that people like to look at, then Pinterest is going to be a massive channel for you. It can be. Like, Pinterest is also very time consuming. Pinterest can be very tricky to keep up with. So it's one of those things where it does kind of make sense to decide, I'm going to go all in on Pinterest, I'm going to spend all my time there, and I'm going to see if it pays off for me, and I'm going to see if it's fun for me. What we're talking about here is really people who are largely solopreneurs, right? They're doing the social for their own business. So you're also allowed to factor in what you like. Like, if you just think Instagram is super fun, and you love to post on it, and you love to read it, like, promote your business on it. If you're there hanging out there already, I'm with you. I like Twitter, because Twitter, you can still meet new people. You can still connect with people one-on-one. I still find it a very enjoyable channel. So I like to hang out there. LinkedIn, we have Edgar post to it automatically, because, like, why not? Why not post that content? But we get very little traffic from it, very little traction from it. We're not spending time really trying to build anything up there. So, I mean, that's my biggest productivity tip. You don't have to be on everything. Like, everyone now is all worried about Snapchat. Do I have to be on Snapchat? You don't. You really don't have to be on Snapchat. You can be, but you really have to be smart about the ROI. And I mean, I just have to be honest, for most businesses that aren't selling, to a young audience, the ROI is not going to be there from spending so much time on Snapchat.
Yeah, I see so many big names that I really trust and value, and they have just dived into Snapchat and they're all about it. And I'm like, okay, maybe that's great for you guys, right? Because you already have an established audience. You already have thousands of people who just love your brand, and they want to see, like, literally what you're eating for breakfast or how many push-ups you can do at any one point in time. That's awesome. But for a company or a brand or a solopreneur who's just getting started and trying to meet new people, are there particular, okay, so we talked about, pick your poison, pick the one that you like hanging out on. But are there any tips and tricks that you have on maybe how to go from zero to being well known in your brand by applying social media effectively?
Yeah, I mean, it's really all about your content. So I think that's really important to point out. It's not really going to happen that you're going to become well known from social content alone. I mean, it can happen like on Instagram if you're more of like a lifestyle brand. It doesn't really happen with businesses that I've ever seen. It can happen if you're just like, someone who wears really cute outfits and you post pictures of the outfits on
Yeah, that's not
Instagram.
me. Sorry.
Right.
Keep moving.
Yeah. And and then it does become your content, right? Because if your only content was going to be pictures of the outfits anyway, then yeah, like Instagram can be a great place to put that. But for businesses, your content is really going to be on your blog. It can also be audio, it can also be video, but it's probably going to live on your blog anyway. At the end of the day, you need to establish yourself as a thought leader on your blog, and then social media is how that content gets spread. And that's like a really easy way to think about social. Social is this amazing distribution channel for everything that you create, because people who don't know you will send out links on social to a blog post they enjoyed, to a podcast episode they enjoyed. They're not going to send out a link to your product most of the time, right? They're not going to tweet out a link to your like services page and be like, I loved this guy's legal retainer package. Check it out.
Right.
Like that's not what people share on social, but they will share a post on social that's like, how do you know if you need to trademark something? Here's 3 easy tips for figuring it out. They're like, oh, that's useful. Other people are going to think it's useful too. So like there are a lot of things that can be accomplished with social. If you think about building a network there, gradually over time, so you have people that will share your articles and read your articles, you're building up an audience who's interested in what you're up to. And that's also, I think, where like you have to be a little careful doing this cult of personality stuff like people do on Snapchat. You really have to be careful with what you're doing with your business. Like people, if you love sharing your whole life on Snapchat and people are, like you said, like watching you do push-ups, like if you have a fitness business, maybe those are good prospects for you. But if you don't, like maybe some people like think it's fun to watch you do push-ups, but those people may have no interest in your law firm, to go back to that example, So that's why you always want to craft your content really closely to what you're selling in your business. And as long as you're doing that, like, that you're attracting a quality audience. I know that people who read the Edgar blog are prospects in some way. They might not be the perfect match, right? But they're definitely in the ballpark of a prospect for our software, because the stuff we talk about on our blog isn't interesting unless you're interested in social media marketing.
Yeah, so such good stuff here, because what I've learned, gosh, it took me a long time to actually learn this, but maybe we could help out a few audience members, is whatever you're trying to sell, whether you're trying to sell yourself to a company, like as an employee, hey, I want to increase my recognition and my value so that I can get a better job or get a better promotion or whatever, or if you have a product or service that you're trying to market, right? Social media is not about trying to push about that thing, about that, like you said, the sales page. It's really about being as helpful as possible and trying to give as much value for free to people so that they can say, wow, this is awesome stuff. And I want to see more. I want to see more. I want to see more. And eventually they're going to become so enamored with your brand, and you have helped them so much over time that they're going to say, okay, well, now I'm ready to dive in and take this relationship a little further, right? We've been dating, but now I want to take it a step further, and I want to buy their, $99 package or $500 package or whatever it is, because they've helped me out so much for free. Now I know that whatever they're selling is just going to take me so much further.
Yeah, and something else that's really cool about social is you also have people that are never going to buy from you, but that will help you grow your business by sharing your content and spreading the word about you. Because this is something that I was confused about when I first started out, and I remember it would frustrate me because I would, see people on Twitter and they would always send out links to my stuff. But, at the time my business was really small, so I knew everyone's name who was buying from me, and I'd be like, why is she tweeting that she loves me and she loves everything I do, but she won't buy, And I felt like frustrated. I'm like, why isn't she buying? And then I realized, like, which would you rather have? Would you rather have one customer or someone who's telling 100, or in the case of social media, it can be literally thousands of people, how great your business is, It's this incredibly powerful channel that we tend to kind of take for granted because we're just all used to it being around. But it's just amazing to me, like, that I get to build this software business, and then all these people just help us out by talking about, how they use our software and they like it, or sharing links to our blogs or whatever. Like, that's incredible. That's like a free marketing team. And I mean, word of mouth is huge for our business, as it is for most businesses. That's where a huge percentage of our business comes from. So remember, on social too, like, some people are building that relationship over time and they're going to buy from you. Some people aren't going to buy from you, and they're still a really important part of your business ecosystem.
So, Laura, we've been, man, this is such a great discussion about just social media in general, which platforms work, which platforms you need to get into, like how you need to build your content. Maybe in just a moment, we could talk about specifically how Edgar can help us, how Edgar can help our audience member here, or we can use me as an experiment, and we can walk through maybe what can we do specifically using Edgar to up our game on social media. But first, we're going to take a quick break and thank our sponsors. This episode of Hello Tech Pros is sponsored by Minio Cloud Storage. Minio is a cloud object storage server for developers and DevOps written in Go. The Go programming language is the emerging language of choice for modern cloud infrastructure projects, and it allows Minio to be highly concurrent and lightweight. Minio is Amazon S3 compatible, built with microstorage architecture in mind, but at its heart, Minio is simple, scalable, and supported by a passionate developer and user community. In episode 89 of Hello Tech Pros, I talked with A.B. Periasamy, one of the founders of Minio, about the importance of community support and recruiting software developers who are as passionate about their product's code as artists are of their art. Check out that episode at hellotechpros.com/89 and check out Minio Cloud Storage at minio.io. That's minio.io. Are you new to podcasting? Are you looking for a fast, high-quality, yet budget-friendly podcast production team? Let TransSource Media take care of you. With a team of professional audio and video editors, writers, and graphic artists, they can help you build your podcast from planning, post-production, and platform submission. Using only cutting-edge software and studio equipment, they're here to make each and every show sound at its best. To get a free quote, please visit www.transsourcemedia.com or send them an email at marketing@transsourcemedia.com or call them at 209-505-5693. TransSource Media, transforming businesses through the power of multimedia. Okay, we're back with Laura Roeder. Laura is the founder of MeetEdgar.com, which is a social media software as a service platform that allows folks, content creators like me, to create our content, right? I have my podcast, I have my blog, but then allows me to import all of my posts, all of my episodes into the tool, into the MeetEdgar tool, and then it schedules it out and it posts it on whichever platforms work for me. So for me, it's Twitter's the main one. Twitter's the one that you see like Hello Tech Pros posts like literally all day and all night. So Laura, what can we do? Like if we're first getting started with MeetEdgar platform and we want to use it, we want to get the maximum use out of us. Do you have any tips or tricks for us to get the most out of the tool?
Yeah, I mean, being on the Productivity Tuesday is a good day for Edgar, because one of the hugest benefits of Edgar is that it's hard. It's honestly hard to explain the time saved until you've used it, because we are so different than other tools, which this is like I think our challenge in marketing is a lot of people think like, they're kind of similar to other tools. We operate in a fundamentally different way. And that difference is with other tools, you have to keep refilling them. So if you use a tool that has a queue, that queue runs out. So maybe you go in and maybe you're like really organized and you put a month's worth of content in that queue, but it's always going to run out. And so you're always going to have to go back and do the same thing you did last month or last week or yesterday over and over and over again. Some tools you have to choose a specific date and time for every single piece of content, and you just have to do that forever. It never gets better. It never learns from you. Edgar is very, very different, where you build and improve a library, and then Edgar handles pulling from that library for you. So you're not going in and filling up your queue. Edgar is filling up your queue. And of course, you're going to add new content. That's social. You're coming out with new stuff, but you just have to add it in once, and then Edgar will handle sending it out in perpetuity. Other tools, maybe you can say, okay, I want to send this out 3 times, or I want to send this out a few times this week. But we're the only tool where you can just say in perpetuity, keep cycling through, here's all my blog content. Basically, you can say, here's my content, Edgar, figure it out. Like, you figure out when to send it. You can have sort of as much or as little control as you want. If you want to, you can go into Edgar, choose your time slots, and then tell Edgar, like, just pull anything from these time slots. Or you can choose a specific category, which is what most people do more. But the productivity increase is huge, because our whole vision of how we want our customers using Edgar is let software handle the posting for you so that you can go in and do the engagement. Because that's the part that a robot can't do, right? That a machine can't do. No one else can build your relationships for you on social. So our point of view is, why are you wasting your time going in and manually posting everything? Your audience doesn't know, nor do they care. They don't care if you went to twitter.com, or if you went to the app on your phone, or if you went to a tool like to actually press send. They care about the message. The content needs to be good. So put in your own content. Also, Edgar allows you to be much more thoughtful about your content, because you're actually building it as a library, not doing it one-off. So build your library, and then you can spend your time going in doing the live stuff that's so important on social.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives me, like I said, I'm a user of Edgar, and I played around with some other tools, right? So I tried Buffer. I tried their tool for a while, and it was okay. It allowed me to schedule posts and do posts. And then I actually used Hootsuite for about a year back before I was doing this podcast, before I was doing this, when I was trying some other blogging efforts out. And what I liked about those tools was just the fact that you could schedule them at peak times. Like, okay, if you figured out at 2:00 Eastern, on a Tuesday was a peak time, but you knew that you were going to be busy, like in a meeting or something like that, well, you could craft your message and get it ready to post, and then it would post at that peak time. And that was okay. But what I love about Edgar is, like you said, you fill it up and then you walk away. And in perpetuity, man, literally, like, all day, every day, and never have to think about it again. It is just constantly posting and reposting the same articles, and as the list of the posts that I have continues to grow within my feed, then it just adds more and more posts throughout the day. And what I love about it is then people reply back to automated posts, and they'll say, hey, Chad, like, how do I get to be a guest on the show? Or, hey, Chad, you should interview Laura. She's awesome. She's amazing. I go, oh, okay, perfect. And then I'm actually having an engagement with an individual, right? I'm talking to the individuals, and I'm having discussions with them, but I'm not just posting the content, because to me, that's like boring and tedious and a pain in the butt, honestly. But I love having conversations with people, so I allow them to like or to retweet or to say thanks or to mention me in a comment, and then I'm having the conversation. But otherwise, just let Edgar do everything.
Exactly. Edgar sends out status updates that people share and people retweet, and it's so cool to see that happening. So you're like, wow, I didn't have to do anything, and now my message is getting spread so much further. And then, when you do log into Twitter, you actually have conversations to respond to, because you've given people things to talk about. One of our default categories we suggest in Edgar is questions for engagement, because we found that's really successful on social, to put out some questions, to ask people, Mac or PC, or what's your favorite productivity tool, or whatever. So you have that question blow on autopilot, people are answering, and then you go back in and see what they've answered, do back and forth, and really get to know the people that are following you on social, and discover new people as well.
So if you think about Edgar is a guy at a party with you and a bunch of other people you don't know. Edgar's that guy that breaks the ice. He throws out some icebreakers on your behalf, and he says, So, Mac, PC, what do you guys think? And it just steps back and lets everybody have the conversation.
It's like, you guys should talk to Chad. He has very interesting opinions on this matter.
There you go. So, Laura, I appreciate the conversation. I want to allow you to get back to your very productive day there at Edgar. Keep continuing rocking out on that tool, because it's so amazing. And I can't wait to see what the next updates for it are. But before you go, can you share any parting words of wisdom for our audience, the best way that we can connect with you? And then we'll say goodbye.
Yeah, so parting wisdom is just, especially when it comes to social, just start where you can, do a little bit. I know social can be so overwhelming because people just have this feeling now like they're supposed to be on every channel. Yeah, they're supposed to be like Snapchatting their whole life 24/7. It's a lot of pressure. And I think so many people see that pressure and they just retreat. They're like, I can't deal with it. I can't keep up. Just putting, like, if you used Edgar or not, do it manually, whatever. If you used Edgar to just post one link back to your blog every single day, you would get huge value from that. I promise. I promise you would see an increase in your traffic. Like, I would recommend you do more than that. But if that's all you did, that would be a really good use of your time. Even if you did it manually, which, like, why would you? But whatever. Even if you did it manually, that would still be a good use of your time. Just post a link to an old blog post every day. So you don't have to be like perfect on social media. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to be on every platform. Be realistic about your time and your schedule. Do a little bit and give it a little time because it does take time to develop a following. It's not an instant thing.
Awesome. And then where can we find you?
So you can find Edgar at MeetEdgar.com, MeetEdgar on Twitter and on Facebook. And you can find me at LKR on Twitter, or I blog at my name, LauraRoeder.com.
Laura, thank you so much for joining me on Hello Tech Pros today. I really value the tips that you've given me. I mean, as an Edgar user, there's a lot of stuff that I'm going to like, okay, I'm going to go back and take a look at my feed and re-listen to this episode again and make sure that I'm using it to the best of its value, because it is a huge, huge value tool, and this was a huge value conversation, and I just really appreciate you taking time out of your busy Tuesday to spend time with us.
Thank you.
You bet. Tech Pros, again, clear transparency. I am a user of Edgar. I am a customer of Edgar, but I'm not getting paid by Edgar to say this. It is an awesome tool. It is amazing. And other than the hosting that I pay to Libsyn to host my media files, and the hosting that I pay to SiteGround to host my webpage, like, Edgar is the next tool that's always in my recurring payments every month. Like, I will not drop that because it just saves me so much time every week to post through social media. And honestly, that's how I've met so many of you audience members and so many of my guests like Laura. You've been listening to Laura Roeder, and I'm Chad Bostic. And until next time, take care. The show notes page for this episode can be found at hellotechpros.com/135. Do you use Slack for team communication? Join the Hello Tech Pros Slack channel at hellotechpros.com/Slack. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review, subscribe to this channel, and check back tomorrow. This has been Productivity Tuesday, but tomorrow my featured guest and I are talking about leadership. Thursday, technology. Friday, people and communication. Saturday, entrepreneurship. Sunday, being unplugged. Monday, motivation. And then we do it all over again next Tuesday for productivity. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.